Lethiwe Mdluli is in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as Aisha Ismail joining us from the Western Cape at the Education Department, where they are joining us. So, Lethiwe, let me start with you. You are at Durban High School in KwaZulu-Natal, just about 28 days or so to exams. We were talking just now about how extraordinary the challenges have been for the class of 2021. What's the conversation happening right now at that school about readiness for the exams?
Well, you're quite right, Silasizwe. We do have less than 28 days until the class of 2021 sit down for their final exams. But as KZN, there are various issues that we are currently dealing with. Schools have been saying that the infrastructure is not up to par. The Department of Education has also said that they do not have enough money to hire teachers. Unions have raised the issues of teachers not having enough teachers in schools, and they are saying that they need the Department of Education to fill those vacant posts. But of course, the department is saying that their budget has been cut by more than 6 billion rand because of COVID-19. But right now we're looking at, are these matriculants ready to actually sit down and write their exams? Due to COVID-19, there were various issues that they faced here in the province. We also had the unrest not so long ago, so schooling was affected. But at the moment, I'm joined by Mr. Steve Lamarck from Durban High School. Good afternoon. My first question has to do with the preparedness and also the actions that you took. I did say that because of COVID-19, there were issues that pupils had to be faced with. Some of the preparations that you've done, please just take me through it.
Lethiwe, thank you. Yes, COVID has created huge problems for everybody around the country, and when you're faced with these kinds of issues and these kinds of problems, we rather look at the challenges and how to overcome them. So what we did at Durban High School is right at the outset, we started an online teaching program using Google Suite. It was quite difficult because obviously some of the boys don't have data, they haven't got access to internet like the rest of them have got. You've got some of the kids that have, some of them that didn't have. So we had an outreach to our parents, to our DHS community, and we were able to raise quite a significant amount of money from which we purchased data for those boys who couldn't help. So we had teachers that were teaching on WhatsApp, teachers that were teaching on Zoom, teachers that were teaching on Google Suite, and we were able to get through a lot of the syllabus through that. When we came back to school and we started operating in the school system, the most important component for us was to make sure that the boys were in the classroom sitting with their teachers, and that's what we did. We had extended hours for them, and for us, full credit has got to go to the DHS teaching staff. They went the extra mile to make sure that the matric boys are ready for these final examinations. Having said that, it hasn't been easy. To get the boys sitting in a classroom from 7:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon is tough. So we've integrated a exercise routine with them. We've carried on with our sport internally, and that has given the boys the outlet that they can go and express themselves, on the field, in the swimming pool, to carry on with the exercise. So we're confident. Our boys have been writing their preliminary exams at the moment, our trials examinations, and they've been doing well. I've chatted to some of the boys, and they're coping. But again, it's been really tough, but the staff have risen to the challenge, and they've adapted.
We are coming from last year, and this class of 2021 was actually facing the same problem last year. When it comes to fatigue and also mental health, have you assessed anything?
Absolutely. When you have a look through the looting, if you look through COVID, the psychological impact that this has had on these young teenagers, these young men, is huge. We're dealing with boys at the moment who have lost parents, who have lost their grandparents. We're dealing with boys whose families have lost their businesses, and so we've got a couple of boys who their attendance at school is sporadic because they actually have to go and work, to try and let the businesses sustain itself. But again, we've got the support structures to be able to assist those boys. We're very fortunate at DHS that we do have our own online school, so the boys have access to that. But again, the Google Suite classroom and through DigiTV with the classes that were recorded last year in conjunction with the Department of Education, that is all still available to our boys, and so our boys have access to those classes. So yes, it's tough for them and it's different, and we need to accept that this is the new reality that we're living in. But it's about how they're going to rise rise to those challenges. So we spend a lot of time placing huge emphasis on the boys and how to overcome the challenges. But those psychological challenges are really tough. You know, to have a boy who's 16, 17, 18, who's lost somebody, whose families have lost all their earnings, you know, it's really tough. And we just the backup system for them to be able to help them. Our parental community have been outstanding. You know, they've helped parents who are suffering. And I think that is going to be the key factor, again, moving forward even to next year. Because if we go into a fourth wave at the end of the year and we start at the beginning of next year, then we're back in the same situation again. You know, so it's the backup support, it's the system, it's the commitment and the professionalism of the teaching staff that is keeping us going and keeping us functioning the way we are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So, Thulasizwe, that was Mr. Steve Lamarck from Durban High School, just taking us through some of the preparedness that they've done just to make sure that the pupils are ready for their final exams.
Lethiwe, thank you for that. Lethiwe Mdluli there from Durban High School. Let me take you to eNCA's Masego Rahlaga. Masego, where are you at this hour and what is the picture emerging as we do a dipstick test of where things stand in as far as readiness for exams is concerned?
Well, Tilas, at the moment I'm in Ivory Park in Tembisa. I'm at the Ivory Park Secondary School, and pupils so far since the early hours of this morning have been telling us that they are nervous but they do believe in themselves. But let me bring in the two guests that we're going to speak to, starting with the principal. Sir, can you tell us what are some of the things that you've put in place to help the Matric class of 2021 at least achieve you know, their personal goals?
Yeah, in terms of the exam readiness here at Ivory Park Secondary School, we have a very big plan from the district that is centralized or decentralized to all the schools so that we can make sure that now our matriculants are getting the necessary support that they deserve. Yeah, looking at the issue of COVID-19, you know, it has a very bad impact on our studies, to be honest, but we have programs that are assisting matrics to at least gain the momentum to keep on preparing for the examination. We have quite a number of programs like School Improvement Plan, that is SIP, that is also assisting our learners. We have morning classes and afternoon classes, that is having, you know, special tutors with the necessary expertise to make sure that now the priority subject are given a priority so that learners can be assisted with those challenge subjects. So what I can say is that now we have all the intervention program that is needed, of course with the help of the district, to make sure that the matriculants of 2021, they really get the necessary support they needed.
Thank you very much. So let me move on to a teacher, one of the teachers here at the school. She teaches life sciences. You know, as a teacher, are you not nervous? I mean, this is a ripple effect. Last year, the class of 2020 was indeed, you know, they were challenged, but not as much as the class of 2021 because they've had 2 years of challenges, and now even the class of 2022 will have 3 years of challenges. Are you nervous as a teacher? What are you doing to motivate your students?
Of course we are nervous as teachers, but then we, as my principal has outlined, there are a number of programs that we are following. Starting from next week, our matriculants will not be closing for the recess. They will be coming to school. We have profiled our learners. We are going to profile them based on the performance from the prelim exams, and we are going to help each one of them based on the help, the kind of help that they need, because they have had a hectic year. They didn't have any holidays. They were coming every day from 7 until 5 o'clock. And even though we are nervous, but we are confident that through their hard work, because they have shown that they are a resilient bunch of learners, they will give us the results that we need.
What are you hoping for, the both of you? I'll ask Principal for the percentage, but what are you hoping for your class?
I'm hoping for an improvement from last year because of the challenge of last year that this group fortunately does not have. Our results were not what we had expected, so this year we are expecting that, we are hoping that we will move to a higher percentage, to the glory days of when my subject specifically was getting in the region of 97%. So that is what we are working towards even this year. And we are...
Let me thank the both of you because I've run out of time, but I know, Principal, what you were going to tell me. Of course, your target is 100% pass rate. Obviously, that is the target of every school, so that's the challenge to us that the class of 2021 has. Their grade 11 year was also disrupted, and now it's all the way to the matric year. Nervous, as you heard from the teacher, but they believe they can do it.
And lastly, thank you for that, Masego. And lastly, let's take it to you, Aisha Ismail, at the Western Cape Education Department. What is the overall view of the state of readiness, at least from the position of officials at the Western Cape Education Department?
So Tulas, due to time constraints, I'm going to go straight to the Director of Communications for the Western Cape Education Department. Brona, when we spoke to the students and the teachers earlier, they were talking to us about their challenges and, of course, their readiness to write the matric exams. How ready is the Western Cape Education Department for the upcoming matric exams?
Well, obviously, it's a huge logistical exercise. So in terms of security and administration, we do believe that we are ready. We have just under 60,000 full-time candidates and 14,000 part-time candidates that will be taking part in these examinations in the Western Cape. And we are just very excited. We are anticipating good results, but we are also not sure of what the results may bring. Obviously, our grade 12 learners have been at school every day. That was an instruction given by the head of department in terms of ensuring that they get the full capacity in terms of the time allocation per day. However, we do not know what the effects were in terms of last year in 2020 when the grade 11s weren't at school every day because of the rotational timetable. So we'll have to see what the effects are, and we are looking forward to seeing what the results of the matric trial exams bring when those come in to see where our learners lie.
And just quickly, in terms of support given to the matrics of 2021, I know there was a lot of online learning, but what about the matrics, who come from disadvantaged communities where they don't have money to buy data?
Well, what we did is we wanted them to have the best learning possible. So our matrics were at school every day, and then after school we also provided distance learning where we had expert teachers, and it was then streamed through to different schools in different areas in certain subjects that took place after school hours as well as during weekends, and of course during holidays we utilised any time available. We have a telematics program which we have partnered with the Stellenbosch University, which also beams lessons to learners, and there's free resources online for learners to download in terms of data. And we've also given them booklets, examination exemplars that were free, that were sent to schools. We printed those for learners, revision documents that were printed for learners as well at free cost. So there's been a lot of support given to learners, and we just hope that they utilise this time wisely, and we wish them the very best of luck in these exams.
Thank you so much for your time. And that was the Western Cape Education Department's Director of Communications here in the Western Cape.
All right, thank you for that, Aisha Ismail, Masego Rahlaga and Lethiwe Mdluli, giving us a sense and a snapshot, really, of the state of readiness in the various provinces. We may not have been able to cover all 9 provinces, but I believe you are seeing the themes, and I suspect that some of the themes are actually, detectable not only in these provinces we have covered in the last while, but actually across the country as well. So readiness and preparation in the midst of COVID-19 for a generation that has been challenged more than other generations, really, at least in the last few centuries. Of course, you need to go back really to see the kind of challenges that these young people have had to grapple with over the last 2 years. You're watching All Angles on eNCA.